I call this meeting back to order. Okay, up next we have a superintendent's report. Mr. Morales.
Okay, we have the student recognitions from Moody Martin, met requirements for graduation, Cindy Garza, Lorena Rivera, and Peyton Belanis. Perryton High School one-act play, best sound technician, Isabella Hanson, all-star cast, Martha Felt and Ethan Richardson, all-star cast, honorable mention, Ellis Bigham. In FCCLA, received the state highest evaluators, Marvel Medina, score at state for RACs, Alejandra Salas, and random acts of kindness, Karina Zagala.
Right. And moving on to resignations.
Resignations, the following are resignations since our last board meeting. Katie Baylor, Sunny Baca, Lindsay Corsi, Stephen Corsi, Beth Guerrero, Ruben Guerrero, Louise Hamill, Amber Hargis, Bradley Herndon, Brenda Cook, Andrew Lackey, Amanda Manross, Caleb Martin, Shannon Suter, Chelsea Vandenberg, Maribel Vela Travasos, and Corey White.
Okay. Okay, moving on to the CFO's report. Mr. Kyle.
First, we have our disbursements report. Starts on page 7. Our pending checks for April. You see those. There's page 1 and 2 of those, and then the checks paid for April, starting on page 9, or 9 through pages through 9. There's 9 pages of those. That's our disbursements that were issued up to April, and then we have a complete listing of the disbursements for the month of March. It starts on page 20. Those there runs for 27 pages for those. So as always, give us a heads up, and if you have any questions, no problem. We can check things out for you.
What's our approval process on the Amazon purchases?
We have to have a authorization in place before they're started. We don't allow individual Amazon accounts. We have a district-wide Amazon account, and they're placed through. We have people set up in the business office that does those. And once there is a purchase order or assigned paper requisition, sometimes we do that for activities or some other things. That has to be in place before the order.
And what is how many PISD charge cards, credit cards do we have? Who all has access to PISD charge cards?
Credit card?
Yes.
The credit cards are, except for a few cases, are maintained in the district in our admin office, and they're checked out. The principals have access to one, and they're available. We have a few other individuals. Some of the people in the admin office have them, and they're checked out. I have one available too. I hardly ever use it. There's a few coaches. Darren Davis has one, and a few other. The athletic director has one, but he's gone now. So very, very few of them are out there. I believe we have pretty good control over those.
Did you make that Crown Roll bag, or did you actually buy it?
No, I actually made it. That's why I like this, because it's made from a Crown Roll bag. Actually, I hand made it myself.
Yeah. Probably more than every step.
does make, when you're talking to it, it sort of builds up heat inside there, so.
More have experience.
Yeah. Okay, you ready for the financial report?
Yes, sir.
Our cash position and book balance reports for the month of March starts on page 47. Our cash accounts for debt total 802,063, including our general fund balances of reconciled balance of 12,111,039. Includes CDs of 11,762. The next page on page 50 is our CD schedule. Notice the rates we're getting on that last CD I bought, 0.35, and I did some in April for 0.40. So there's quite a change.
They're not negative yet.
Yes, exactly. I think if they go negative, we just need to get us a now account, put everything in there and let's let them, you know. That's 11,762,000 there. Interest and sinking on page 51, 1,159,867, includes CDs of 1,136,290. Schedule of those CDs is attached. Our funds are we have adequate funds in our interest and sinking account to pay for our debt service obligations. We're in good shape there. Cafeteria funds, 67,437, page 53. No CDs. Special education funds, 303,774, no CDs. Activity accounts, 367,761.37. CDs of 310,992.60. Includes CDs. See that one CD in the activity fund. See, it's a 365-day CD, which gives us a higher rate. It's 0.45. So the longer-term CDs, if we could go 180 days plus, we get a little premium rate, and of course a year rate we can go. It's hard for us to lock up a year in our general operating fund. We just don't have the reserves to do that like we used to. So, especially when we need the funds at certain intervals and everything. Ranger Roundup, $14,350. Capital projects funds, 81,117.10. See the CD on the next page. What I did, we had the first year CD that matured, and we added our budget, our appropriation for this year of 40,000. So we renewed that with the interest and made the new CD 81,117.11, which is the interest added in there. And that's with 365. It's a 0.45 rate. So financial statements, general operating revenues, 18,656,507, and our expenditures of 13,362,771. And then you see on that spreadsheet total, our capital projects number total across 206,666,699. The schedule of those capital projects is on the next page of 62. What we paid is 206,699 here, so you see the detail of that.
Where do we set on our operating fund? How close are we to a statement like this to see 2.5 months what we're going to do?
The recommendation is usually more than 2.5 months. It's usually 4 months or longer. 3 at the very minimum. For us, we don't really get enough money until January, really, for tax money. We need 4 months, 4 to 5 months.
So what's that number?
Well, ballpark number is about $1 million a month. So I think we're at the pretty much the lowest, amount of, we just don't, what I'm trying to say is there's not enough fund balance there to do anything major. There's a few things that we can tweak and do, but I wouldn't plan on having the money to to do anything significant. Listed, at least in my opinion. In the financial statements there, our 18 million deal, our estimated revenue is 22,273,000. We received 83.76% of that. Our expenditures in total, $13,332,731. 60% of our budget of $22,059,000. Our food service fund revenues of $718,406. Expenditures of $782,620. And over on food service, we might talk a little bit about the funding for our summer program. We went 2 weeks in March, and we got paid through the regular National School Lunch Program for that. And the supplemental amount, once we're giving these free lunches out, everyone, we get paid about $5 a lunch, approximately 509, something like that. But it's, of course, it comes with a lot of regulations, and there's a lot of compliance things we're having to deal with on that. And we're doing the best we can. I think we're doing a great job on that project, really. But we're hoping that we're going to be able to at least break even on the cost of that. And so we get paid for that for every lunch that's served, breakfast and lunch together there. So it comes from a different source. It comes from the state agriculture department. It's the same as our summer project. So that's and we haven't received the money, the payment for the meal. It's been submitted and it should be coming any day, but the part that's for the free lunch handout money, we haven't received the March money for that. And hopefully we'll have that here shortly. We probably have it by now, but we haven't. Debt service fund, again, revenues of $1,295,763, expenditures of $317,952. Capital projects funds, again, there's no expenditures, just the revenues for the interest renewed, and then the $40,000 is the transfer from the general operating fund to make up the difference that we already invested there. And Ranger Daycare Fund, revenues of $99,510, expenditures of $203,975. And I've included, giving you a more detail of those, since these numbers our losses are mounting there, whatever you would say. We're sort of hemorrhaging money, as you would say. Of course, the 91,802 includes 91,802 of daycare fees, and then the TRX only half is an add back that sort of offsets the expenditures that we have. And then on page 78, expenditures 203,974. I included the detail of that there that shows the total on that page. It's a 2-page deal. It's on page 79. And you can see the breakdown of the 203,974 expenses. Of course, like anything we do, salaries is a huge amount. Our daycare director, we have salaries for the daycare assistant, and then the teachers at the daycare, and we have salaries for the food people at the daycare, and salaries for the custodians at the daycare, and then various expenses. Of course, we pay the church $1,500 a month rent. We pay half the utilities for the church. That was the contract that we signed.
What was the lease term on that? Doug, do you remember it was signed with the church?
Well, we've got a copy of it. I don't.
Okay.
What'd you ask him?
How about the lease? Of the
10.
term?
10 years. I remember for the money they put into it, they required several years. I couldn't remember what it was.
Some of the equipment and stuff we bought are sort of getting startup stuff that we've done early on in the year, that So that stuff is sort of not getting carried away. See, the food purchases there today, that's a significant amount there, $4,500. So instructional materials and just everything just sort of adds up, you can see. But
Can I run the food through our cafeteria or our school?
no, they have to fix their own food
Yeah,
there.
they have to have their own.
It's different rules and it's different compliance stuff too. They here with us and now early on they helped them get started and sort of trained them on some things there. But
We don't, do we have a roll report on that? No.
No, she sent me some information today because of things going on, but I know last year when they started this, we started late. So the school teachers couldn't get their kids in there, also the hospital people had a rate down daycare. So I'm hoping if we start at the beginning of the year, we can fill that place up.
Well, I didn't know if this is affecting, how many teachers' kids are in there right now that aren't in there because they're at the house, so.
Yeah, they're almost definitely down.
Yeah, they're almost in right now, people are keeping kids at home. Keeping them away from everything.
Like we've had the perfect storm. We started out late, so we didn't get as many as we wanted, and then
Than this.
we could foresee COVID-19 coming.
guys, keep in mind too, the only thing that makes this more palatable is the hospital district here is on the hook for half of this.
Yeah, one half.
Absolutely.
So that makes it quite nice to have, but it's still what it is. I think it's something that that we just need to, I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of it, so no one was be surprised by it.
When did we settle up then with the hospital? Is that summertime or the start of next
And last year we settled up at the end of the fiscal year.
fiscal year?
After our books were audited, they wanted to make sure it was audited and everything. So we accrued a receivable for that to go back to last year. And when we received that payment from them, back in January, I think, this year, it was about, their share of last year's deal was about $26,000 or something like that. And if y'all would like, I can continue to give these more detailed breakdowns of that each month to sort of see where things go. I've got the appropriation column there. I'm going to put in a budget for it, but it was sort of hard. And I can project pretty much, I think, now for what we're going to have at the end of the year. But I'll try to have that in there for the next time too. But it's more interesting. It's more, gives you more information than it is version that we see on the financial over here. The last thing I have here is some information on, before enrollment report. All the board is the contract, for transportation, and they have pretty much closed down their office, since the suspended instruction there. And we got the billing for March, and they had billed us for as an insurance payment. You can see that I've given a copy of the statement there, $5,290. The others are the transportation costs that sort of agrees with the contract for special ed and regular and all the other stuff, extracurricular stuff there. As you'll see in the second, what they estimated in the proposal on extracurricular is way lower than what it's going to end up being now on a normal year. But for this year, we sort of suspended extracurricular, so we're going to be closer than what we would have. But if we'd have gone for a full year, we would have been under budgeted on extracurricular. But they talked to us about, they still have the insurance costs on that. And my opinion was that it was not called for in the contract, and we have provided a copy of this, and we've had some emails with Fred Stormer, and he's reviewing this. And to my knowledge, unless James has heard from him today, we haven't got a result. So they want to do what they can, and I think Ralph called me several times, and he said, well, next month's not going to be as much, but if you project 37 weeks at $52.90 a week, we're talking about a huge number for insurance, and our insurance dropped just modestly from when they're insuring the buses that we're not. I think this includes their profit and their operations and everything there, you know. Now, presumably we won't have transportation costs going forward, but he said they're billing their schools is $5,000 a week for continue their business operations, basically their insurance costs.
Is that listed in their contract though?
It's,
If you don't do that, is that listed in their
I
contract?
don't, it's not,
It's not,
it's not.
and that's why Fred's looking at it.
Good line right through it.
And that's, the way they do that, they want us to, we can not pay, we can't, the way they train Carol is that we have to pay the whole thing and then we'll get credit for it. And there's some offsets that we bill them back, but we can't take, we have to get credits for them. You can see there's, later on, there's some credits there. But you can see here, the next page here, this is the billing for March. And the cost from September through February, on this is on page 82, we spent $424,000, and then I added the billing for March there, which is at $41.54. Okay, and then on page 83, I added the total of the March billing plus what we accumulated this fiscal year, and see that's $473,000 there, which is what we already paid. And you can see on the appropriation for the extracurricular, and this is directly from their proposal, that's $75,000, which I followed these numbers exactly on what their proposal was. So see, we've already incurred $91,000 for extracurricular, and we've only had budgeted basically 75. And then the other items there, just sort of outlined. The student transportation is pretty, I guess, relatively in line with that. So I felt like we needed to disclose this to y'all, let you know what we're thinking, and be transparent on what we're doing. But we need to get this paid, and I'm thinking we're gonna pay, Carol, we're talking about this today, we'll pay everything but that insurance part tomorrow. And we'll just see what happens. And I think they're gonna maybe back off of that or come back with a counter deal, because they're real, oh, we'll work with you, we'll do anything, you know, that kind of thing.
So Doug, do I get this right on your projections? Overall, due to the COVID-19, we're going to come out with a savings of about $110,000 for the year. Is that what you're projecting with this 473 here, as opposed to the 583 that we had budgeted?
You know, if we don't have any more buildings for it, that would be, you know, that could happen. But we won't have transportation costs. But also, you've got the month of August that will have transportation costs. So that would, which is in this fiscal year.
So there's still more to be added, so this is just spent
More
today.
things to be added.
Okay.
We sort of anticipated having some savings if we didn't have student transportation, you know, and that would be normal. If we're not busing kids, we're not going to be paying for the costs, you know.
Right. Have we done any cost comparison up until now, year over year? How much more this is costing versus what we use?
Well, you know, we worked up a projection when y'all were talking about doing that the very first time. And if I remember, I run back my memory, we were looking at maybe about $75,000 increase over what we were doing.
Yeah.
And, but
we haven't looked at it this year.
we could do that. We got all the numbers, you know. But the way our contract is with them, we get credit. There was 3 bus drivers that decided to stay with the district and not go with them. And we pay their salaries, and they're getting paid now. So we're still having salaries. And so that's gonna be a cost that we probably cannot bill back to them now, because
All their drivers are furloughed.
their drivers are drawing unemployment and furlough, and our drivers we assigned them to the bus barn to have somebody there during the day. They're working 4 hours a day there to keep that open. There's three of them.
Right.
But they're getting their salary just like everyone else. They're getting their regular salary, not anything extra.
Right.
And so those are 3 that were closer to retirement age and thought that they should keep those. But we get a salary credit normally for the wages that we pay them offset, and that's in an account. It's not in this group here, it's down below.
Right.
So there will be more costs for that, so.
Okay,
The extracurricular overrun is more trips, longer trips, more things we're doing.
More things we're doing, you know, they're paying our coaches to drive for them, you know, they're paying that. They're paying more, longer. I don't think they really knew the extent of what they were getting into for that, really. Or when it was bid, you know, they made this proposal and we just ended up, we just have more extracurricular than what they provide.
It's from Perryton.
So, but one thing too is, you know, they're not there anymore. And of course, we're not driving our vans much anymore either. But if we have maintenance on those, we're having to find other places to get that done. You know, so.
Are they in the shop someplace, or are all buses sitting there, or they got repairs going on someplace?
The only thing I know that they've been done with is a van that we've been wanting to get worked on for months, and they weren't able to get it done yet. It's still, we're not using our vans much, hardly. The buses are just sitting there basically all the time.
Then you just said something, you got vehicles that have worked with you, they have.
The only thing I know is there is a van that they had promised to work on. It goes back for maybe several months, and they just never get together into it. Right now, it's not an issue, it's not a problem.
But they're contractually obligated.
And of course, they bill us for that too. We pay for, see that item there, whole board service van fleet, that 15,000 is my estimate of what we were gonna spend. And of course, we spent 83.12 for that already. I really don't think we're getting much of a discount on that, but they have done some good work. So that was what I wanted to point out to y'all, and I think James and I had talked about this several times. We're going to wait to see what Fred recommends. In fact, he emailed me today with some questions on how long we had to bill and if we paid him that. I responded with that, but I haven't heard anything back about him. So.
You get in trouble if you drop liability on the insurance until they get pulled down the road again, just insure. Is there a price break, or is there some way?
I don't know. One option would be we ought to go back and insure our own buses during this period and not pay any insurance to them. We'd come out way, way, way ahead on that deal if we ended up settling on that.
If they really, really want to work with us,
Yeah.
get that answer first.
Well, and that's what Ralph, first time he called me, I hadn't met the guy yet, but Ralph's his name, he's from Dallas. And anyway, he called me and we asked, Doug had brought this to me a day before he called me.
Yeah.
So I knew already what the deal was, and I just asked him, and he was, well, we couldn't plan for COVID-19. I said, well, nobody plans for COVID-19, for what was going to happen. And basically, I said, I don't know if we can pay that. And he said, well, work with us. So I don't know what work with us means, but that's kind of what he asked. So I thought after this day, you could give us some direction on where we want to go other than not paying it until we get more from Fred.
Well, and I think the thought process of, one, that's not in the contract.
It's not a problem.
Number one. Number two, is the ability there to, if they're freaking out because they're having to pay insurance costs on buses that they're not generating any revenue with, try and cancel the insurance, slide it back on the hours they're setting. You know, our insurance liability on that would be less if they're setting an extra on the road. You know, that's maybe a negotiating point with them. You know, you're not gonna charge us for somebody just being on the contract, but if you don't want to get hit with it, maybe we'll take it on.
We'll take it over. Yeah.
But think about the exposure out there with nobody driving anything. There's less exposure. Like
Those are just physical damage from.
maybe a hailstorm or something.
Or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
I missed the corner and crashed into a bus yard.
And then if everything just goes completely south on this deal, then we may have the ability to get out of the contract and then, just separate each other and we go back to
Well,
maintenance. All
We have that right in the contract anyway, with notice, proper notice. I'm not recommended, we haven't made that decision yet. I mean, obviously, we'd have to consider, but without a strong person as the vote in charge of the table, we don't need to do it, because I think if we'd have had a strong person all along there, we would never have it never this much.
I agree.
We had someone that wasn't doing their job. So, and there's got to be somebody out there, the right person. We just got to find them and,
Yeah.
there might be somebody out there looking for a job. You never know.
The fire department runs their trucks every day for exercise. They don't get started, they don't say it.
It's a good question. I don't know.
That's just a routine department, just to run trucks, just to keep it lubricated.
Probably start those diesel engines and let it run for 5 months or so.
You can run for a little bit longer than that, but obviously, if the buses are just sitting there and they're not running, that's gonna create some problems when they do go back in.
So we got 3 employees we're paying.
Last week.
Just let them run. I don't know if you pick a time. I'm not sure what it takes, but it's 30 minutes or.
That doesn't fall under their contract?
They're not there now.
Only our 3 employees do it.
Talk to sort of the diesel engines over with them, something like that.
Yeah, well, who?
I think all in all, our experience with all the boards has been good. And I agree that nobody saw COVID-19 coming, but we need to do what's right. And it sounds like that might be gouging a little bit on this insurance price, I think
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. I mean,
I
$5,000.
think the charge, in my opinion, is excessive.
Right.
Yeah, they get profit off the cost.
And thinking a month of 4. See, the month of March, we had two weeks of instruction where they were, we had 1 week of spring break, which no one was all participating in that. We had a week that we were out, and so they billed us for 1 week of the insurance. But for the month of April and May, he said they wouldn't bill us in the summer, but that would be 22,000 for the month of April and et cetera,
So why would they not bill us in the summer, but
Gotta sign an assessment.
they still have, if they're insuring one, they gotta insure the other, so that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, was a scheduled, they weren't working at all during the summer, they would want to do that.
They're not that bill us when they're not working all during the summer.
Not for transportation, and he said not for insurance too, is what he told me, so.
But for June's, we do for April.
Yeah, well, in fact, there's just not much left in the appropriation, for it too. Whatever.
All right.
Last but not least, on page 84 is our enrollment report. And our enrollment, I guess we go to March. You can see 2,198 for 19 and 20 compared to 2,244 for the prior year. And the enrollment there compares down from February, I guess, of 2,201, so it's a slight change.
All right. Any other questions for Doug? All right, Doug, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, everyone was furnished a copy of the director's reports. Of course, the directors aren't here, so does anybody have any?
Is he out there? Alan? Okay. Let's have him.
And the others will be available by Zoom if you need them.
Okay,
Yeah, that's how they're.
that's what I was gonna ask, if anybody had any questions.
They're popping up as Alan. And Throgmorton's here also to tell us about it.
Okay. All right. So we'll start out with the maintenance
Maintenance
report.
man, there he is.
How do?
Everybody, you know.
Do you want to stand over there?
So they can see you.
That's who I'll be seeing. I'm going to hand you one of these. I think we got it in your report too, but just in case. It's just some information on, overall systems done for some pricing on, we did have an active case show up in there and have to shut a lot of fluid and stuff like that. There's some information over there. There's some information, also that I didn't have at the time that I looked at the report on some pricing and stuff on PISD, stuff like that. I had a few requests. And some teacher requests, administrator requests about visitors. We use those throughout the buildings and stuff, so we've been approached about it from some of the salesmen 3 or 4 years ago, back when the flu was shutting some schools down and that. Our cleaning process and stuff, we never did have to shut down, we never lost enough ATM to do that, so I feel pretty good about the way our ladies are taking care of our building. They do us a great job, and they're steadfast in doing it. But in saying that, we have got some pricing material in there from our 3 suppliers that we use. They're not cheap. That's basically a handful of units or a backpack unit. That's not including the product that has to go in it, and that's basically just a unit. In saying that, I also done some research, and there's places, that say, yeah, it's the greatest thing in the world, blah, blah, blah. But there's also a deal from the CPA that is, I think it's in the back of your packet, it's printed off, that shows that the CDC does not recommend e-misting for COVID. So it's more of they're recommending more of the disinfecting and then putting the virus out on and leaving the second time. And I got a feeling the reason that is, it's just my opinion, I got a feeling people that are using e-misters are probably not sanitizing and cleaning when it's in. I think they just go in there and e-mist and everything's killed, but that's not always the case. You still have to sanitize and clean before you use the virus out. So I got a feeling that's why the CDC is probably saying it. So. On the daycare stuff, we had germ blasts that come a couple of times in the last 3 or 4 years. Basically a test on all of our buildings, and they go in and they do high-touch areas, doorknobs and stuff like that, bathrooms, and then they give you a germ count back, basically as part of their testing your facilities. And of course, then they want to sell you the product to come and take care of those things. But we decided, since COVID was around us and close, that we have one part-time custodian at the daycare. She just comes in at 5 to 9 in the evening. The rest of the day, it's the employees over there themselves, sanitizing and cleaning as they go along in the day. They've done a great job of that. But just in case, we put this together as a proactive approach, that if the administration decided, that we wanted to go in and do a one-time cleaning, and basically what they do, they come in with steamers, they get rid of everything. And then they clean the air with an air purifier while they're there, and then they do the virus out stuff. So there's a price in there for one-time cleaning if we were just to call them and say, hey, we want you to come do this. And then there's a price in there also for Or if we do have an active case, that changes the whole scenario, because then they gotta suit up and do something. Basically do the same thing from state to law. So it's a little higher for us if we do have a case show up on the building. The other price in there was for a quarterly deal, and you know, that's pretty expensive. I really don't think we think about that. But the other two are something we just kind of put in our back pocket to have in case something happens. And we have a plan of attack other than just our custodial staff trying to take care of it.
And guys, that's why I asked Mr. Kent to come in, so you all be aware of what would happen in case we had to do something extra than what the school already does for whatever case. But all this stuff's around, the mystery's been around for a few years, just so that we can get ready for COVID-19, whatever happens.
And like I put in before, the mystery is it's just another tool in their hands. We use virucides and stuff, starting with the 14 kit and all that, all the way through till summer. So we've been doing that all along. The e-mister is probably maybe, I'm going to say positively will, they claim, you know, that the electrostatic, that you can wrap around under tables and get nook and crannies that you just don't wipe down, that type of thing, because it makes that electrostatic charge and makes the particles stick. So, I mean, there's benefits to them, but, you know, it's just because the benefits outweigh the cost of keeping everything set up. Anyway, I just want to give you all the information.
In case we decide we want to go there.
There's a lot of districts that use them. Just haven't seen the need to spend that kind of money to do it. We not really have the problems that some of them. But it is an option. I mean,
I think it's good to have the information in case we decide we need it. We can go from there. Certainly, if we had an issue, it would be something worth looking into. You know, if we felt like we had an outbreak, I think it would definitely be worth looking into. You know, while the kids are all out and everything, I hate to spend the money going in disinfecting everything when that's not going to stop the root of the problem, which is kids coming in infected after we disinfected everything. So,
and it does not stop that person.
yeah. If we already had an infection, it might be worth doing, but I don't think, just preventative, I don't think it's worth doing at this time. So it's good to have the information ready to go.
And really, the only would be the Ranger Roundup now that we have students in.
Because we still have.
And that's the hard part about this. I mean, you can sterilize and clean every 3 or 4 minutes, but if that person passes it to the next person, they might not even touch anything. They just got it from the person. You know, it's a double-edged sword.
One of the young men I put on our sanitation program at United, he complained to me and he said, well, it feels like I'm cleaning the same thing over and over. And I said, well, that's kind of the point. You know, it's not about cleaning, it's about sanitizing. So,
That's what we're doing.
yeah.
Do you have anything else?
No, other than that, just the update on what's going on at Wright's classroom over there. We actually haven't had it debated. We poured concrete poured in and finished that Saturday. So we're going up here and get that job in there.
Okay.
That was I think what caused that, after doing some stuff off the wall and treating the cabinets out, it looked like that it probably old roof leakage for years. That probably caused a lot of that, and down the walls. And probably just started settling some stuff along that east wall. The slab had actually dropped. I mean, it's a big crack for several years, but it finally actually just kind of broke over. That ground settling underneath there, and it dropped 2 inches all along the wall until you got to about the southeast corner of about 4 inches. And it fell off pretty good.
Just something.
Thanks, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kemp.
Send in Roger, would you?
Yep, on to Mr. Throgmorton on the technology report.
Guys, this gives us most of your what we're finding in distance learning hours. It'll come this way so I can see on the screen. All right, give us a little bit on your technology and what we've done with distance learning and new things we're doing lately.
Well, since I wrote the board report, we have one more church that we're gonna turn into a hotspot. That would be the Pentecostal church at First and Elm. That will serve an area of the community that's not great. It's a pretty good walking distance from anywhere else. Even like Main Street, it's a pretty good walk from there. So that'll give us another one, and that'll be going next couple of days. I talked to the guy, I forgot his name now, but we'll probably have that all set up by Friday, probably, or Thursday at the latest.
Okay. That's good.
And we feel like we got most of the town covered for most of the spots.
There's absolutely like spots that some places they're just not like a big parking lot. I would say kind of that way from here. There's not, aside from the park, which if you're going to the park, you just walk up here. But aside from there, in this direction to the south and east, there's just not in like a parking lot where it's just people's houses pretty solid there. So there's not really, I don't know what else to do about that.
Anything else on technology?
No, just want to remind people we have a work order system for kids to put in work orders, and I think maybe that hadn't been advertised enough. Like we're getting calls like 10 o'clock at night sometimes and with problems, and it doesn't bother me, but it's for sure some of the hourly people really like getting a phone call 10 o'clock at night.
What's the hotspot system? I mean, you read newspaper from time to time that they're putting them on a school bus and then they park a school bus in the neighborhood or something. Is that?
That we could do. There's, like you would have, the only problem with that is you would have like kids sitting in the gutter, or, I mean, it's not a place to sit or a place to park unless you're in the street. But we're looking at getting some of those things to make a bus a hotspot. That's something we really wanted for a while now. And I think we're going to be able to maybe get that and get reimbursed from the federal government for it as an expense for this, but it's something that we really wanted for a long time, because if we're asking kids to do during a regular normal school year, if we're asking kids to do homework online and stuff, and then we send them to level in for a basketball game or something, it's going to be pretty late when you get in.
They could be doing their work on the road trip.
Is that just something off the shelf at Verizon, or is that a different kind of?
No, one of the things is, like we could find solutions much less expensively, not much, but somewhat less expensively. But things that are capable yet also are filtered makes it a little tougher. Makes it adds an expense to it. And the people that like have mobile hotspots versus people that have filtered mobile hotspots, there's a whole bunch more of the former than the latter.
Now, is there any of those available now, or we have a hard time getting?
That's the whole problem, is they're just all on back order right now.
That's what the other.
Every other school is free.
Well, it's one and a half, I think.
Well, it's like the people, we ordered our Chromebooks for next year right before this happened, just kind of.
Right, lucky.
Yeah, worried that it might, and we ordered them a little bit earlier in the year than we usually. And that I said, you got plenty? He said, oh, yeah, gobs and gobs. And then like 2 weeks later, he said, oh, we've had the biggest week we've ever had. Yeah. Probably the best thing to come out of this to me is that, teachers are forced to become familiar with something that they're not used to.
Yeah, learning.
But also, sub-6th graders are now going to be entering 6th grade, like having used them at home some. I think it's one of those, it kind of hurts them, but I think in the future, it'll be good for us that we've grown out of this. I keep telling everybody, I guess, to kind of see this as an opportunity to do something different and force yourself to grow.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you. Okay. On to Mr. Clark, Communications and Safety Report.
I don't have anything to add to my report unless you have some questions. There we go.
Okay, and on to campus reports. I'll start out, we'll just go in order here. By the book, looks like Lady Pena Martin.
She had nothing to add unless you have questions.
Okay, anyone have any questions? Okay. All right, thank you, Ms. Wilson. Okay, Perryton High School.
Ditto.
Any questions for Mr. Finch? Thank you, Mr. Finch. Perryton Junior High. Mr. Garcia, have anything to add?
Yes, sir. I'd just like to share with the school board. Mr. Lee Ray had asked Mr. Felix and I to attend a webinar today with Lightspeed. Part of the webinar was talking about virtual reality and its uses for CTE classes, specifically with respect to trades like welding and tech, auto, and electrical. I'm proud to say that attending that webinar has earned the junior high, through Bytespeed's donation, $9,000 worth of hardware equipment and software for our CTE program. And all we had to do was show up and participate. So what a blessing from Bytespeed, and what a wonderful opportunity for our CTE program.
Mr. Clark?
You can bear
$9,000 just for attending this session from Lightspeed. $9,000 worth of equipment.
Good deal. Congratulations. Thank you.
Is there anything we can do? I'm assuming the video's as high as the volume is as high as we can go, Mr. Clark?
It was coming through those speakers before we broke for executive session. And somehow when I disconnected, we lost the audio.
Okay. All righty. Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
That sounds like it. Okay, Ms. Beach? Says right was all good.
Okay. What about Mr. Cates?
It's all good at Williams.
All right. Okay. So everything's good with Ms. Speeds, everything's good with Mr. Cates. Okay.
This way we get the whole picture now.
Oh, he's in the trailer.
That was a jail cell for himself.
All right. How about Perryton Kinder?
He said everything's good unless you have questions.
Everything's good. Okay, any questions? And you did say Mrs. Beats said she was good, correct?
She said she's good.
Okay. Okay. Okay, and now on to Mr. White for the curriculum and instruction report.
On page 111, I tried to give you bullet points of all the stuff that we've kind of done in format. We've got grades 4 through 12 are all in Google Classroom. A big shout out to Williams for getting everybody engaged and getting Google Classroom. You heard from Rodney, who brought in, we got 5th grade all on some kind of technology. Those who didn't have Chromebooks are going. I think pre-K through 3, the parents have done a fantastic job of trying to keep up with kids' work and checking in on that for our younger kids. They're working hard. A little bit about how we did that process in the very beginning. Mike Morath has kind of slowed down in the beginning. We started on that Friday of spring break. Went every day, including Saturdays and Sundays, and all through spring break every day with Mike Morath. And now we're down to today's meeting was canceled, so we only have a Thursday meeting. So it's kind of slowing down, and most of the information is on the TDA webpage and organized for a lot of us to be able to access that. Some of the things that we've done with Darren's help, a lot of getting information out there. Some of the more recent ones we've done Zoom meetings with our entire faculty. I believe that Mr. Clark is going to get that sent out to all board members so that you can kind of, it gives you a filled-in detail of everything that went out. And that was done last week with Mr. Morales and I. We also did a community-wide Facebook Live meeting. So we've tried to do just about everything we can. We've been on KEYE pretty consistently with all the principals and all that process. You've already talked to Rodney about additional services with hotspots. That continues to grow. We also found one of the questions that came up on Facebook Live was how to take care of those people, low-income families that can't afford internet, and we posted that now. In fact, later on that day, we found that process for people to try and qualify for free internet, and that's posted on our website as well. So we're trying to take care of every single kid in the district. We've got Chromebooks that have been picked up. We're doing some exchanges at the 5th grade, so those kids are going to get all new Chromebooks. Was scheduled for 6th grade. Some of those kids are getting those early in 5th grade. We're going to kind of see if we can maintain those in the houses over the summer. We're going to try and do some distance learning. Summer school is going to look a little bit different. We're going to really preload for example, 5th grade students, current 5th grade students will be working on some engaging activities for 6th grade, focusing on that vocabulary and those essential skills they're going to need in the very beginning. So a lot of that process is happening. We're still feeding a lot of kids, taking care of families. We've also partnered with a lot of the churches with Gyra to try and get food and groceries into the hands of the parents as well. We did delay the dispersal of the student material. That was all scheduled for this week, and we'll roll that out. We're going to keep our schedule. We got to figure out which week we can do that. As soon as the cases settle down a little bit in town, we'll try and roll that out. With a lot of stuff unknown on Sunday, talking about a lot of people. We went from hardly any cases to more than a few in a short period of time. So we'll either roll that out next week or the week after, once everybody gets a little bit more prepared for that. As far as the STAR testing and accountability, there's not going to be any change in our ratings. You can see that what the rating every school is going to get. So the downside for us is, the junior high worked extremely hard this year, and they were really looking forward to the testing, and they didn't get the opportunity to get out. So it doesn't break the chain. of them being improvement required last year, they'll start out next year still in that same situation. But AP testing is a little bit different. They're going to be able to do that from home, and they're going to be shorter tests instead of 3 hours or 45 minutes. And we're working on getting all those scheduled. So distance learning has really changed the face of how we do things. We've got some people that could naturally convert because they were doing a lot of the Google Classroom already. We've had a lot of people that have kind of jumped in with 2 feet and really added to our skills. We've had a lot of people that have gotten better at technology that have maybe been a little bit slow to jump in, really have jumped in during this process, utilizing a lot of functions.
Anything else? Any questions for Mr. Watt?
Is the online stuff working well?
Yes, and sometimes not as well. I mean, when you're trying to introduce a consistent skill basis for a bunch of people that don't have equivalent skills, you've got some that are a little bit more and some that are a little bit less. So I think the feedback has been very positive. We've got a ton of teachers that are doing an amazing job of working with our parents and trying to help them out. I do think that we've had a couple of hiccups here and there that the principals have said. Some people are they still want to give the kids the very best, so it's been a little bit challenging for them to kind of tone it back a little bit, because if you've got a family of 4 on one computer and each kid gets 8 hours of homework a day, that's 32 hours. And so some folks have had to be a little bit more precise with their content.
I believe Mr. Clark has something he wanted to add.
Well, I just want to, Mr. Garcia wrote out in chat what we didn't get to hear him say. Actually, a big thank you to Mr. Lee Ray for getting Mr. Felix and him into a webinar with Bikespeed, and Bikespeed is donating $9,000 worth of virtual reality hardware and software for our CTE program to help kids learn about welding, electrical work, and more. So that is a big thank you.
I heard the $9,000 when he spoke. I wasn't sure if it was a donation or a bill, so now we know it's a good thing. So,
Good.
apologize to Mr. Garcia. We had the volume up good for everybody else. It was hard to hear Mr. Garcia, so I'm glad he emailed back in. And I would also like to thank all the principals, all the administrators, all the teachers, all the technology people, maintenance people, everybody that's been involved, all the paras getting this distance learning program going. We've had to do something nobody's ever done before. They've had to put a program together. They've done it, and they've served the needs as best they could through distance learning by feeding kids, by getting Chromebooks and other equipment to kids. Everybody's worked their tail off during unsure times. And I just can't say enough about how much I appreciate all the employees of Perryton ISD. So thank you to all of them. All right. With that being said, let's move on to consent agenda items. Start out, we got minutes of the prior meeting, so we're gonna.
And this is part of the consent agenda. I guess we've got a motion in a second, but as far as discussion, in the minutes for the meeting on Tuesday, March 24th, I think y'all's books are a page off of ours. Ours is page.
I've noticed that they're one page off.
Number 7A, consideration of possible action on PISD district calendar. The text says, "Modifier move to approve the list of non-1 contract positions as presented." So we don't need to change that.
On which
So
one?
if I remember correctly, on page 114, number 7A, if I remember correctly, Michael, how I wrote it against on the calendar.
It was a calendar.
It was a calendar.
I read this.
But the sentence that says Lloyd moved to approve the list of 9.1 doesn't match up with the motion that we voted on there.
Okay, I'll take that. So then we are not approving the minutes for,
So we can approve it as an amendment.
Send it to you.
okay.
Okay. All right, Wes, I will take that as a motion to approve the minutes with the recommended correction. Do I have a second? Okay. I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the prior meetings with the correction noted. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, and on to the budget amendment. Mr. Kyle, do you have that?
Yes, this is the repayment schedule. You can see there, I've attached that. We have a 2% loan with the State Energy Conservation Office that now that we've received all the proceeds, and the first payment is due through the schedule May 31st. And so this budget amendment is amending the budget to provide for the principal and interest for the payments on May 31st and August 31st. And I wanted to talk to you all about, there's a case to be made for, we're earning 0.45% on CDs, and we're paying 2% on this loan. 2% is not as good an interest rate as it used to be. I don't know, there is a case to be made we've got the money in our broker accounts, about $500,000, about $500,000. And the online CDs are about as good as our local CDs, they're not much better. In fact, unless you go out a longer term deal, So it would be good for us to think about the possibility of using those funds to just pay that loan off, save that 2% interest. But it's good to have a little cash flow available too. It affects us. I'm sort of a little torn a little bit by that, and I wanted to see what y'all thought about that.
Have we seen the energy savings they said we would since we did this?
Well, one would think so. That was part of sort of going to be paid for, but it's now that it's quantified to a debt, it's strictly a matter of we're going to be paying 2% and we're going to be earning 0.45 or 0.50%. Just a calculation there. If I knew exactly how our finances going for the next year would be, it would be good to have that in reserve a little bit and not have to worry about. So, but it's something that I wanted to bring up in case y'all thought it was a good idea to.
Doug, if I figured it right, that's $500,000 and two, it's about $10,000 a year interest cost. And if you get 0.5%, we're only earning $2,500, so the net differential is $7,500.
Yeah, I have no problem paying that, but I do think we ought to get through this next couple of months. Because you've got some things here right at where your state department, your budget limit is on what your reserve fund is going to be. And if you get any curveball, we're going to be.
Yeah. That was the thing in the back of my mind. Don't get too carried away. We might need the money. And but it used to be 2% was a pretty good loan, right? Yeah. But I think for right now, I'm leaning towards just at least letting it ride for this year. Maybe look at it again, maybe next year. We can always do that. But this budget amendment provides for the payments that are due May 31st and August 31st, which will get us through this year. And that a charge to repaying that loan would be a direct charge against our fund balance because the proceeds added to our fund balance. So, how that works. So.
All right.
So I think that's what I was thinking, unless y'all had any, we're on the same page, I think.
Right. Be nice to save the interest, but we want to stay a little more liquid right now.
And it's not a huge amount, but it's,
Okay. All right, with that, there's no further discussion. I'd entertain a motion to approve the budget amendment as presented.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the budget amendment as presented. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay. On to discussion and/or action items. Mr. Morales, we have consideration and possible action. Go ahead and cover that.
I recommend that the board approve all contracts as presented during executive session.
And that is pertaining to dual term contracts, probationary contracts, and term contracts, and corrections. I have a motion and a second to approve all contracts as presented in executive session with a printout of those available for anyone who asks.
Posted on our website.
Be posted on the website. All in favor? All opposed? The motion carries 7-0. I didn't miss anything, right? Okay. All right, and then Mr. Morales, we have consideration of possible action on employment of head boys basketball coach.
Yes, I would make a recommendation that we hire Ryan Daugherty as our head basketball coach as recommended by Kurt Hapter, our athletic director.
Okay. I have this time I'd entertain a motion to hire Mr. Daugherty as our head basketball coach as recommended by our athletic director, Mr. Haberton. Got a motion?
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Discuss and consider approval of a request for additional state aid Valorum tax credit for the Paladera Wind Project. Morales?
I've come in on this a little late. I think y'all have done that before. It's receiving the tax payment for them and also receiving the funds for that. So I recommend that we approve that.
Okay. This is pretty much just a yearly formality, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. This time I would entertain a motion to approve the approval of a request for additional state aid Valorum tax for Paladera Wind Project.
Motion.
Have a motion?
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of approving? All opposed? That motion carries 7-0.
did you need to see? Did you skip C?
Yeah.
Did I?
We just did see.
Skip C, that's what we voted on.
And Todd, you have the order.
I have an older?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
I did too.
And that's why y'all have been off one page on everything. I knew y'all had
Is that what it
that.
is?
Right.
I just couldn't see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have some things about it, but I didn't tell you also about it. Because I was out to Fred sent us some changes he wanted us to make, so we have to go back and redo everything.
Right.
Okay.
So I got
This
to
came
fix
in
all the
later.
board members, but I didn't get to fix y'all.
Well, I got the same copy you guys got, so.
Okay. We're good.
All right, okay. Now going on to item D, attestation of off-campus instruction and daily attendance waiver.
Yes, I recommend that we approve this. This is again a waiver that we have to do, testifying that we have done this distance learning and have met all the requirements, and you'll have to approve that before I can actually go on and make the waiver application.
Okay.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the attestation of off-campus instruction and daily attendance waiver. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, the next thing is consideration of possible action on softball field renovation updates. I believe the board is in agreement that we haven't explored all options, and we have instructed the architect to explore some more options to find out what the best avenue for updating our softball field and making a playable surface is. So I recommend that we table that to the next meeting. Okay. Consideration and action on a resolution delegating to the superintendent authority to make emergency modification to the district policies as needed.
Yes, this again was a deal with Fred, so that we can make the decisions necessary during COVID-19, even if they may not follow policy or things that we're doing. So it's very necessary that we pass this.
It's giving you the football or the red button.
The red button.
Giving you authority to push the button.
That's a lot of power for you guys.
That is a scary thing, guys, let me tell you.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve a resolution delegating the superintendent authority to make emergency modifications to district policies as needed. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Consideration and action on a resolution to authorize and approve the submission of an application for a waiver to TEA for educator appraisal requirements due to circumstances arising from COVID-19.
Yes, again, this is another one that Fred sent us. Not all our teachers, when this happened, had their appraisals. And so this allows us not to finish that appraisal since the teachers are on longer session, and also for the principals if they had not been appraised. But I think we're going to finish the principals. Is that right? We're going to finish the principals appraisals?
Yeah, we'll finish all the principals, and a lot of the teachers' appraisals, we'll get finished those that had observations prior to COVID-19. They'll wrap those up. So it's most teachers are good to go. We just have one spot.
One spot that didn't get it done.
Okay. All righty. Okay. This time I'll entertain a motion to approve that resolution.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve consideration and action of a resolution to authorize and approve the submission of an application for a waiver to TEA for educator appraisal requirements due to circumstances arising from COVID-19. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. And then last, we have consideration and action on a resolution to authorize and approve the submission of certain applications for waivers to TEA of requirements under the Texas Education Code and Commissioner's Rule.
Yes, again, this is any waivers that we need to file because of COVID-19 with TEA, so this gives me the power to go in and do those applications and those waivers.
Did it give you the red button authorize you to do that?
Yeah, that did do that too, but
Okay.
this is legal tech.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and I'll entertain a motion. Got a motion and a second. Okay. All right, I have a motion and a second to approve a resolution to authorize and approve the submission of certain applications for waivers to TEA of requirements under the Texas Education Code and Commissioner's Rule. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Meeting adjourned.